Alright, ready for some pain? Today, we're gonna do the last Dragonbreath card. Look at this. Speaking of hot. Although he mostly looks sad, which is a little less hot, but I'm sure that this will become, yeah, we'll see. So, you're always ready for pain, good. Let me dive into this. As the morning sun rises in full, the mist that looms over the region begins to dissipate. In a corner, away from others' notice, Rosa arranges her ceremonial robes and glances at the altar steps that grow clearer before her eyes.
모든 준비를 마친 게냐?
Ooh. Wow, okay. So is she a priestess again or something? There are people talking at the other end of the man who spoke first whispers a few more words to his. With his movement, the last wisp of mist billows outward and disperses.
좀 더 가까이 다가오라고 하고 나머지는 전부 돌아가게나.
Wow. His tone is so authoritative. Tell her to come forward. The rest will leave. Okay. His words are like an unspoken command. Before the voice fades, the men and women dressed as servants beside her take a few steps back. Only she remains standing in place, and only she is permitted to stay here.
주문을 외우는 동안 내 몸에 무엇이 나타나든 절대 멈추지 말게.
Once the spell begins, no matter what you see happening, don't stop. I understand, Your Majesty. Ooh, look at her outfit.
그럼 올라와서 전과 똑같은 주문을 외워보게나.
Then come up and use the same or call out the same incantation that you had just done before. I understand. Okay. Last sentence isn't a reply to anyone, merely a whisper to herself. Focus and stop hesitating. The more she ascends the stairs step by step, the clearer the silhouette of the man they call His Majesty. The man they call it. just to say he's okay. Perhaps those who were just ordered to retreat could never imagine that Artem, the Archon, currently ruling this continent. Wait, what? Is now standing in the center of the pool at the highest point of the altar, with his back to her as he unbuttons his shirt, allowing the faintly glowing water ripples to entwine with his skin. At first, only he is muttering in an unknown language. Soon she too begins chanting. Thou art descended from the divinity, us to and as sword and shield as scales of law dwell upon my flesh. The cold, clear water in the pool churns more violently, condenses into clusters of splashes that rise into the air. At the same time, an intricate dark red pattern emerges on Artem's unembellished shoulders and neck, from which emanates a flickering glow. Ooh. I see. A mark? Alright. Show us the mark. It is as though some living creature was forcibly roused from slumber to latch onto its post. No matter how many times she would, this thought always circled. Thou shalt answer the call of the boundless ambition, bending to my will. Ooh.
난 괜찮으니 계속하게.
I'm alright, keep going. So flustered. At some indiscernible moment, Artem seems to be pierced by an invisible force. She hears him gasp several times, despite his attempts to press them. Since Artem insists, then... She forcibly quells the urge, sees her incantation, utters the final line. Until death scatters all to the... Why? Majesty?
난 괜찮네.
I'm all
드디어 끝났군.
finally done. Artem appears to unwind considerably after a deep. Back returns to its original pristine state, and the strange pattern vanishes. To be more precise, that pattern is more of an emblem. The emblem symbolizes an archon's power, proof that Chaos, the divinity who holds sway over all creation, has bestowed their favor upon it. Among the many races, Chaos selected those capable of draconic transformation and granted the emblem to the wisest among them who most revered order, tasking him with governing all. Oh, I see. Who most reveres order. Law and order. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. This is the origin of the Archon system. The Archon receives immeasurable wisdom and magic from the divinity to maintain balance within. But the immensely potent emblem is often a burden to the one who bears it. Even the mighty dragon shifters escape that. Who is he a Zhongli? He kind of is, yeah. That's why Artem needs someone to periodically. Thanks to her scholarly pursuits in emblemology, Artem recognizes her capabilities, and she has occupied this vital role ever since. Although Artem's body exhibited certain reactions during past ritualistic ceremonies, severity pales today. Oh good, I'm glad he got an expert. Relative to before, Artem's discomfort during the now seemed more pronounced. Is that possible? No, conclusions cannot be drawn before a thorough examination. Is she a doctor? Kind of a doctor now, isn't she? Okay. Your Majesty, your emblem. Long before she can voice her she hears a rustling sound beside her ear. Following the noise, she sees Artem donning his coat, conveniently obscuring the emblem's resting place on his.
알고 있네.
I already know. You know.
회장 일은 나중에 다시 얘기하고. 시간이 늦었으니 일단 나와 함께 본전으로 돌아가 공무를 처리하도록 하지.
Okay. Let's talk about the emblem later. It's already late. Come with me back to the palace. We still have to finish our official. Oh, the scar on his face. Man, he looks good though, right? Doesn't he look amazing? Dang. They really went all out with the godly slash like kingly details again. I mean, they do play favorites with Artem. But as if severing her final opportunity to inquire further, he pauses momentarily while descending the altar steps and goes back.
존재하지도 않는 것에 대해 쓸데없이 이야기하는 것보다 앞을 바라보는 게 더 중요하지 않겠나?
Rather than speculating on useless, isn't it better to look ahead? How handsome, right? He's so handsome. On the journey back to the throne room with Artem, a profound silence. I'll never escape that word. Reigns, broken only by the echo of her footsteps. Oh, wow. The imposing doors soon slowly swing shut behind her. Saving for the Archon's throne, the grand table in the Great Hall is already fully occupied by officials. The far end of the table, the sky is fractured into pallid shards by the window pane. Through them, you can glimpse the festive banners fluttering outside. Oh my gosh, Cappy, don't torture me like... The decorations are up. In a few days, this continent will celebrate its national day, the Night of Chaos. By then, the entire nation will enjoy a holiday to honor Chaos's blessing. Thus, before the festivities commence, the Archon must conclude all governing affairs, such as summoning trusted officials to preside over the final court of justice preceding the festival.
보좌관들은 발언을 시작하게나.
The aides may now speak. The aides Artem refers to are all of the officials seated at the table, self included. Aides present cases to be deliberated and judged by the Archon, a frequent practice Artem instituted after resuming power. He's like a judge now. There is also a hierarchy among the aides. Having served alongside Artem the longest, she has been granted the position of chief. However, the Court of Justice today differs somewhat from the norm. The aides all wear a hesitant expression.
폐하, 수석 보좌관님. 이 안건은 너무 민감한 사안이옵니다.
Your Majesty, Chief Aide, this case is rather sensitive. Perhaps he dares not to openly recite its contents, or maybe he wants them to review it first. An aide named Nix gingerly passes a scroll to her way. Finding it peculiar, she lowers her gaze, unfurls the parchment. This states,
읽어보게.
read it. Last night, the Royal Knights reported that due to controversies about an opera performed by the Emerald Troupe within the city, members were questioned following the performance. It is said that there was some conflict between the two parties.
오페라의 내용이 무엇이느냐?
What were the contents of the opera? In essence, the protagonist in the play slays the Archon to gain wisdom and power. He takes the emblem from the corpse to usurp the throne. That sounds like treason.
자리를 빼앗는다.
Usurps the throne. The implication of the word is glaringly evident, sufficient to strike fear into the heart of anyone associated with it. This is what gave rise to the other aides' reluctance to.
보좌관들은 그 공연이 전 집장관 석찬우와 나 사이에 있었던 일을 암시한다고 생각하는 것이냐?
Oh. My aides, are you implying that this play is alluding to the events that transpired between the previous Archon Neil Hume and myself? Neil's back. Oh. He was the usurper.
휘장을 얻기 위해 그를 죽였으니 진정한 살해범이구나.
That in order to claim the emblem, I killed him.
물론 아닙니다, 폐하.
Of course not, Your Majesty. Artem disregards Nix's whispered protests and instead glances at Rosa. After all, the aides each had their areas of expertise. Among them, she possesses the deepest understanding of the emblem's properties and what really happened at that time. The emblem bestows the power its bearer dreams of, but the incantations involved also influence the bearer's psyche. As such, most Archons throughout history have descended into madness, perhaps even bewitched. They prefer to slay their successors rather than relinquish the emblem, or they will be unable to withstand the emblem's burden and will ultimately succumb to mental breakdowns. Oh, so did he actually kill Neil because Neil had gone crazy? The previous Archon Neil Hume lost control due to his inability to endure the pressure asserted by the emblem. He transformed into a colossal dragon and attacked the city. At that time, Artem, still an aide, subdued him and swiftly evacuated the populace, thus sparing them the fate of losing their lives in the... I need to adjust. I had this slightly differently earlier because I was trying to do my Araragi Monogatari video, but then it didn't work out. Okay, I'll adjust it. At that time, Artem, still an aide, subdued him and swiftly evacuated the populace, thus sparing them the fate of losing their lives in the... For Neil Hume, who had already lost consciousness, would no longer return to... Death was instead the most merciful, eternal rest others could offer him. Yet the one who granted him peace would inevitably shoulder the accusation of regicide and bear the weighty burden of the... Just as she was immersing herself in the contemplating bloody history behind the emblem, Artem lightly clears his throat.
여기 앉아서 오페라가 암시하는 바를 멋대로 추측하고 있을 필요는 없네. 보좌관들은 법전을 먼저 확인하고 해당 안건에 대해 심판을 진행하게나.
Rather than sitting here speculating about what the play implies, it might be better to consult the law before passing judgment on...
현행 법률은 명확하게 규정해 놓았고 에메랄드 극단은 성내 등록된 정식 극단이니 어떤 연극이든 자유롭게 공연할 수 있네.
The current laws are already quite clear. The Emerald Troupe is a registered legitimate theatrical troupe in the city, and they are free to stage any productions they want.
그러니 기사단은 극단을 상대로 충돌을 일으켜서는 안 돼.
Therefore, the knights cannot instigate conflict with the troupe.
법률은 정의와 질서를 유지하는 초석이야. 이 점은 내가 이미 여러 차례 강조하지 않았나?
The law is the cornerstone of upholding justice and order. Have you not gotten this point yet? Wow. He's Artem in every universe. Artem remains Artem. Rosa hastily flips through a few pages of the law tome at hand. Some of the articles indeed align with Artem's work. After all, the one who penned this law was none other than him. Aides, including herself, have naturally learned from his. Furthermore, it would not be an oversight to regard Artem as the ruler who rebuilt order in this land, lighten the populace with the law. So I guess Neil was not so great at that.
그렇지만 폐하,
Your
이
Majesty,
일을 엄중히 처벌하지 않는다면
if we don't mete out severe punishment,
앞으로 다른 꿍꿍이를 가진 사람들이 더
Future.
심한 일을 벌일지도 모릅니다.
things could escalate.
백성들이 날 특정에 고발한 게 아닌 이상 내 마음만 떳떳하다면 그만 아니겠느냐? 더 의심할 것도 없네. 백성들이 날 특정에 고발한 게 아닌 이상 내 마음만 떳떳하다면 그만 아니겠느냐? 더 의심할 것도 없네.
Okay. The citizens have not specifically said my name. It wouldn't be right for only me to get heated about this. Then they will not be suspicious.
법전을 따르지 않고 주관적인 판단으로 형벌을 집행한다면 그것이야말로 진정 폭군이 아니고 무엇이란 말이냐?
If I disregard the law and punish people based on subjective impression, then what would I be?
이 사건은 적절히 처리해서 백성들이 평화롭고 즐겁게 카오스의 밤을 보낼 수 있도록 하게나.
Handle this matter properly and ensure that the people spend the night of chaos in peace. Nyx has no choice but to fall silent. Rosa anxiously clasps her hands, steadies herself, and dresses. But Your Majesty, are you certain there is no need to clarify the truth? Allow me to inform them about the emblem. That way, Artem will no longer be
그럴 필요 없네.
unnecessary.
그 일은 벌써 여러 번 이야기하지 않았는가? 모두 잘 알고 있을 것이야.
Been discussed already. You all know it well.
휘장은 나와 신 사이의 계약이야. 함부로 모든 걸 밝혔다간 백성들에게 불필요한 두려움을 안겨주는 꼴이 될 것이라네.
The emblem involves my contract with the divine. If everything is divulged rashly, it could cause panic
무엇보다
or more than that.
폐하,
무엇보다 이젠 내가 내 몸을 완전히 통제할 수 있어.
That doesn't sound like this is true. More than that, I have complete control over my physical condition.
또 수석 보좌관이 휘장 주수를 잘 알고 있으니 예상치 못한 상황에도 대응할 수 있고.
And the chief aide is well versed and capable of handling. That cough sounds nasty. Have some tea, Artem? Yeah, Artem, please take some tea.
계속 내 곁에 있는 한 말이야.
That is to say, as long as she's by my side. Artem barely suppresses his coughing fit, gazes at her with unwavering. Yet it so closely resembles what happened at the altar. Gaze, far from assuaging her, that breeds an even more foreboding atmosphere. Oh no, it's angsty!
전 집정관의 비극은 다신 일어나지 않을 것이네.
Tragedy of the previous Archon shall not be saying to kill him if he goes mad. But then she'll be cursed with the burden. I feel like he's got a plan to end that somehow. Although her entering the cycle would also be interesting. Following the conclusion of the Court of Justice, Artem departs the throne room early to oversee festival. Rosa gently closes the open law tome. Just as she's about to leave her seat, she hears a set of approaching footsteps.
보좌관님,
She
수석
fades.
보좌관님.
Lord Nyx, is there something you need?
별일은 아니고요. 그냥 폐하께서 여전히 인자하신 게 너무 놀라워서요.
It's not really much. I was just surprised by our Archon's unwavering benevolence. As they converse, Nyx, who handed her the scroll before, glances in the direction Artem departs.
그리고 폐하께서 지금처럼 건강하셨으면 좋겠네요.
I pray that his health. Well, health? It is high noon, and the pale, dazzling sunlight casts the shadows of the festive banners outside onto her shade. She furrows her brow, utterly unaffected by this celebratory atmosphere.
수석 보좌관님.
Jade.
어쩌면 저희 같은 늙은이들의 착각일 수도 있겠습니다만
This might just be a misunderstanding on the part of us elders, but
폐하의 건강이 예전 같지 않다고 느끼신 적 없으십니까?
don't you also see that physical state a little bit off? As she's about to speak, she recalls Artem's prior reluctance to discuss his health and if he has no intention of divulging anything to them, then she should keep his secrets for him for the time being. But Nyx seems unable to rest easy and leans in even closer to her.
훌륭한 학자가 넘쳐나는 왕도에서도 보좌관님은 천년에 한 번 나올까 말까 하는 뛰어난 술사이시지요.
Even among the many esteemed scholars in the royal capital, you are an exceptionally gifted sorceress, rarely seen in a
그리고 수석 보좌관이라는 자리가 폐하와 가장 가까우니
and you hold the position of chief among the aides and are also closest to his majesty.
폐하께 무언가 걱정스러운 상황이 생긴다면 모두가 수석 보좌관님께 의지할 겁니다.
His majesty exhibits any strange signs, we're all depending on you.
만약 저희가 도울 게 있다면
If there's anything we can do to help. You have my deepest apologies, Lord Nyx. She sighs with a smile and gathers the weighty law tome. Neither you nor I should wantonly discuss health in public with. If you are truly concerned, I can assure you of one thing. It is both to appease the aides before her and to quell the doubts that have plagued her, calls her scene. She gazes at the sky outside once more, solidifies the notion that was gradually forming in her. I soon will have research for His Majesty as quickly as possible in order to render a judgment. Okay, the restricted section of the library. Midnight. The lock clicks into place. He raises the lantern and ventures into the depths of the section of the library, gazing up at the endless bookshelves ahead.
수석 보좌관님, 여기입니다.
Here.
외람되지만 혹시 이 늦은 시간에 열쇠를 빌려달라고 하신 건 낮에 말씀하셨던 연구 때문인가요?
Forgive my impertinence, but you came to borrow the key the hour for research you alluded to earlier. Yes, I must verify something. I'm sorry to have troubled you in the middle of the night. Whether driven by her sense of responsibility as chief aide or simply out of concern, we cannot overlook Artem's increasingly unstable physical. He appears to be treading the same path all previous Archons have traversed, their health deteriorating day by day, ultimately meeting with misfortune. However, before confirming this conclusion, we must first compare the current situation with the pertinent records. Although I came to check these records, I've already perused most of the books on etymology here countless times. She extends her hand, runs her fingers along a row of book spines, and withdraws a dusty volume from them. Emblemology involves delving into divine power. Therefore, the slightest lapse of attention could lead to irreverence towards the gods or reckless discourse on divine matters. At present, research into emblem sorcery is limited. Even the most cutting-edge research remains at the hypothetical stages. But regardless of the hypothesis, most researchers have proposed the same argument. Unless the bearer perishes, the emblem will not be transferred to it. Moreover, the power the emblem can unleash is so immense that it can bewitch the mind. History of circulation among archons is essentially a chronicle of power struggle. Whether human or dragon, they may be blinded by desire or even bewitched, drawn into bloody battles for the emblem. But is it really necessary to perpetuate the cycle of conflict? There are alternative methods to transfer the emblem. She is too immersed in thought and fails to notice at first she has directly vocalized her music. Beside her, the lantern in Nyx's hand suddenly wavers. In the flickering flame, his eyes widen in shock.
다른 방법이라뇨?
Alternative methods?
수석보좌관님, 무슨 말씀인지 잘 이해가 안 됩니다만.
You fade. I don't quite understand what you're trying to say. The emblem is a gift, bestowed by chaos, but in essence, it is an amalgamation of. As long as it is an incantation, there must be a possibility to rewrite its structure. If the incantation can be rewritten, a method of emblem transfer, the lesser burden that does not involve life and death, then perhaps both dragon shifters like Artem and even humans could also become archons and shoulder the responsibility. Ever since Artem assumed power, he has been refining the laws and nurturing many capable individuals, including his aides. As long as there's a trusted successor, Artem can completely relinquish his burden and no longer bear the infamy unjustly imposed upon him. Once free from the influence of the emblem, Artem's health will most likely recover. Wait, what am I thinking? Rewriting the emblem's incantation? Precisely recklessly discussing the divine power? She realizes that she went too far and turns to Nyx. Lord Nyx, what I meant was... Lord Nyx? No response. Only her shadow sways on the surface of the walls, like some unspeakable existence looming over humans from high above. And before she can find the aid, she hears another set of footsteps coming from deep within. Oh no! She can't help but raise the lantern higher, although the man has long walked away. Silhouette is all too familiar. Why would he be here? Maybe doing the same research. She takes one last look at the eerily quiet surroundings and resolutely chases after him. But there's always a certain distance between Artem and her. Just when she's about to catch up to him, he vanishes swiftly around the next corner. Is that really him? No. After a chase, a dead end finally appears not far ahead, with Artem right there. Your Majesty. The instant he turns his head, the bricks of the wall around her, steeped in the dark of night, suddenly emit a white glow. And she, unable to stop due to her hasty sprint, is about to charge straight into...
뭐 하는 것이냐?
What are you doing? Oh. Someone abruptly yanks her from behind. Oh, interesting. He falls into his heaving embrace. When she turns around, Artem, who should have been in front of her, is panting heavily, his face a mixture of bewilderment and urgency. I just wanted to go find you up ahead. Wait, why are you here?
Up?
Ahead? Only now does she realize she's standing at the edge of the retreat. Before her is no dead end, but a massive semicircular window. Wide open. Take one more step forward and she could easily have plummeted. Logically, there is no way Artem could have been walking ahead of her. Then who exactly was that Artem I saw before?
몇 시간 전에 확인해야 할 일이 있어 수석 보좌관을 찾았는데 다른 보좌관에게 열쇠를 빌려 금서 구역에 들어갔다고 하더군.
Oh, interesting. Someone tried to kill her. A few hours ago, I sought to discuss governing affairs with you. Someone said you borrowed the key from another Aiden into the library.
오늘 금서 구역에 관한 이야기는 들은 적이 없어. 뭔가 이상하다는 생각이 들었지.
I heard no such request today, so I thought that was strange.
그래서 찾아왔는데 금서 구역의 깊은 곳으로 뛰어가는 모습을 보았다네.
So I went looking for you, and I saw you continuously running deeper into the...
날이 이미 저물었는데
Late.
수석 보좌관이 왜 이 금서 구역을 떠돌고 있었는지 설명을 들어야겠어.
It's already late. Chief Aide. Will you explain to me why you're wandering around the restricted section? Artem quickly reins in his tone of concern, a bit unbecoming for an archer. Resumes his usual. She has no intention of concealing anything and knows fully well she cannot deceive him. Bearer of the emblem. She can only confess to him honestly. Because I was worried. Not only about your emblem, but many other things as well. If you always take on everything alone, it will become increasingly difficult. So I often think it would be so good if there was something within my power I could do to share your burden. Oh, she might be overstepping her position as subordinate with the worry for him. She cannot find more accurate words at the moment. Therefore, she can only remain silent and await the interrogation. Oh, he smiled. Artem does not look at her for a while. Instead, he gazes at the city outside, bathed in... Compared to the ever-burning lanterns, royal capital, stars in the sky symbolizing the... Although the populace has always had various assessments of Artem's rule, it is indeed he who has breathed new life into the that she and the others depend on. He stares fixedly for a moment, and when he withdraws his gaze, his eyes have softened like...
내 몸 상태를 보면 백방으로 뛰어다닐 거라는 걸 진작에 생각했어야 하는데.
After seeing my physical, I should have known that you would certainly rush about and seek a solution.
이게 보좌관의 고질병 아니지 않나?
Isn't this one of your old habits? Artem does not question. Instead, he adopts a gentle tone completely opposite to that of the Court of Justice. She's not overly surprised by this. She merely nods her head resignedly. In other words, it's precisely because she is the aide who has accompanied him the longest that she knows his true nature.
우리가 처음 만났을 때와 똑같구나.
Just like when we first met.
보좌관은 늘 스스로의 안위는 돌보지 않고 본능적으로 남을 걱정했지.
You always put your own safety aside and worried about others. Ooh! Flashback. Ooh! When was that? Wow! Dang. Just like... gorgeous. Ah! Oh my gosh. Dude, he looks so hot. I think it's that like look from above, right? And that authoritative glare. Wow, why is he so hot? I know, it's very unfair. It's very unfair. All of us. He is this attractive. The capital hadn't yet hung up festive banners. Storms stirred up by battling dragons howled and engulfed everything, raining down endless showers and...
데리고 오너라.
Oh my god. Oh, why can't I be that hot?
데리고 오너라.
Bring her here. Her mind is still hazy. She stumbles a bit when pushed towards the throne and nearly falls. Soon an irresistible force makes her lift her head. The first thing that enters her eyes is the behemoth coiled on... That must be the dragon. Dragon? It's an illusion, right? Only dragon shifters can create a phantom of their true... In that case, it's almost clear who the man before her is. And with the force that made her raise her head just now, it seems there's only one possibility. She's on trial, and he's presiding over it. He an official in the castle? The man shows a hint of surprise, perhaps as he sees that the one brought before him is just a common. But that fleeting astonishment is soon covered by something more resolute and cold. He then speaks to her in a deep voice.
왜 성 부근에 나타난 것이냐?
Why did you appear near the castle?
전 집장관이 갑자기 용으로 변해 소동을 일으켜서 근처 주민들은 모두 대피했을 텐데 말이야.
The previous Archon transformed into a dragon and caused unrest. The residents nearby should have been evacuated, is what I'm trying to say. The dragon looms behind him like an enormous shadow. The clicking sound from deep in its throat is like a prelude to imminent flames. She repeatedly warns herself this is just an illusion to intimidate her and make her cooperate. Then she takes the initiative, meets the man's inscrutable eye. I saw someone injured, so I turned back. If I hadn't taken the injured man away, he couldn't possibly have survived.
하지만 결국
But in the
못
end,
살리지 않았느냐?
you couldn't save him.
심지어 다가가지도 못했지.
You couldn't even approach him. I can explain what happened. When she found that someone was left behind, she chose to return after she had first she could safely bring them back with the spell she had learned. But just as she was about to reach the man, she was suddenly repelled by an invisible barrier of unknown. By the time she came back to her senses, she had already been brought to the throne room for questioning.
설명?
An explanation? The man before her seems to read her thoughts directly and allows the dragon illusion behind him to lash its tail fiercely.
주제를 모르는 인간이건. 겨우 춤은 조금 배웠다고 세상을 구하는 영웅이 되려 하다니. 주제를 모르는 인간이건. 겨우 춤은 조금 배웠다고 세상을 구하는 영웅이 되려 하다니. 주제를 모르는 인간이건. 겨우 춤은 조금 배웠다고 세상을 구하는 영웅이 되려 하다니.
Okay. Presumptuous human. Trying to become a hero. And save the world. The few spells that she's learned.
애초에 네 도움이 필요 없다는 생각은 안 해봤느냐?
Didn't it occur to you that perhaps that man didn't actually need you to save him? But
대답하거라.
answer me. I mean, you interrupted her. What does that sound? As those words land, she suddenly feels an indescribable pressure. The dragon behind the man abruptly spreads its wings. You can feel an almost uncontrollable power coursing through the... can barely resist.
만약 목숨 걸고 구하려 했던 사람이 사실 나였다면? 백성들 눈에 두 손을 피로 물들인 집정관을 시해한 자라 여겨지는 나였다면 말이다.
What if I told you the man you're desperate trying to save was me? Kingslayer drenched in blood in the eyes of the populace was actually...
그럼 어떤 선택을 했을까?
Then what choice would you have made? Kingslayer.
석찬호 집장관이 스스로를 통제할 수 없게 됐다네. 그래서 내가 처치하고 다시 인간으로 변신해 땅으로 돌아왔지.
Nilhum was unable to control himself, so I dealt with him. Then transformed back into my human form.
그래서 석찬호 몸에 붙어있던 휘장이 나한테로 옮겨온 거야.
The emblem that resided within him now resides within me.
그 후엔 내 부하들이 구하러 와서 네 도움 따윈 필요 없었다고.
Afterward, trusted aid. No need for you to try.
게다가
I didn't
이제
need your help.
석찬호 집장관의 뒤를 이을 신임 집장관이 되었으니 인간의 도움이 필요할 만큼 나약한 존재가 아니란 말이다.
Not to mention, I'm the new Archon succeed. That is to say, I'm not so weak as to require help.
만약 상대의 진짜 정체를 미리 알았다면 그렇게 목숨 걸고 달려들 수 있었을까?
If you had known who the one you sought to rescue really was, would you still have risked your life to do it? What I saw at the time was just someone left behind amidst. No matter who they were or what they had done, I would have gone to them nonetheless. Artem quietly appraises her sweat-drenched face. God, he's so good looking when he smiles. Just as she grits her teeth and prepares to endure more questions, it's just questioning, suddenly feels lighter. That strange pressure seems to have vanished.
흥미롭군.
Speaking.
조금 전 휘장을 이용해 주문을 걸었다. 주문에 대해 잘 알지 못하는 인간은 다치거나 심하면 미쳐버릴 수도 있지.
With the emblem, I was exerting influence on you, enough to injure or even drive mad those who, with a scant understanding of spells. Dude, he literally held us down with his dragon powers.
하지만 넌 놀라울 만큼 잘 견디더군.
But you endured it to a surprising extent. Even now, she finds his true thoughts elusive. There's a subtle presage within her, as though both her destiny and gently shifting.
됐네. 신문은 나중에 하지.
We can talk about that later. Later. As she echoes the thought, Artem gives her a deep, penetrating look. See, they can use the word deep. It doesn't always have to be profound. There seems to be a certain inexpressible emotion flickering in his eyes, softening his tense expression for her.
이곳에 끌려와 신문을 받는 게 네 결말이라 생각했겠지만 사실 모든 결말은 시작의 또 다른 형태이기도 하다네.
You thought that being brought here for interrogation was the end. But every end is just another beginning.
지금부터 널 어떻게 처분할지 의논해 보겠다.
Next, let's discuss how to deal with. Following that puzzling remark, here's Artem's way of dealing with her, simply letting her stay in the castle and learning incantations systematically. The more time she spent with him, the more she could personally feel that he was much gentler than he. It's just that the identity bestowed upon him by the divinity is decided over order, so a tough side to others.
손을 이리 주거나.
Give me your hand. Huh? What? Caught off guard, she startles on the spot facing Artem's open.
여긴 아주 오래된 성이라 금서구역같이 외진 곳에는 건드려선 안 될 생명체가 나타날 수도 있어.
This castle is ancient. Beings we shouldn't come and dwell in secluded areas like the library is restricted.
그리고 그 생명체는 외형을 바꾸거나 인간의 마음을 홀릴 수도 있지.
Might easily shift its even orienting goals. Beings you sense, Majesty?
이곳엔 우리 둘뿐이니 예의는 거둬도 되겠구나.
It's just the two of us now. It's all right to drop the honorific.
직감이 많네. 뭔가 이상하게
Intuition is
느껴져. 하지만 지금은 널 밖으로 내보내는 게 급선무지.
I do have some mistakes, but what matters more is you out of it.
그 외에 다른 갑자기 사라진 보좌관을 찾는 일 같은 건 나한테 맡기라네.
As for other things, like searching for the suddenly missing aide, leave that to me. I hope nobody walked him out a window. She gazes at Artem's hand midair, knowing this is an indisputable because as the Archon, he always had the not to let. She nods and grabs. In the restricted section, comments at night. Artem's hand. Only here can she shed the identities of Archon. Oh, they, Archon and Aide, walk together quietly as. He looks at his cape by his steps, falling in her. Someone lost in thought, saying nothing. Tired. Unable to bear the silence, she softly calls out his name. Artem, have you really never thought of clear accusation? Completely help you do that. At least in public, Artem is used to acting alone, not lonely. In fact, he doesn't need to do this at all. He decided from the start to bear everything himself. Hearing her words, Artem looks back and gently squeezes.
넌 지금도 충분히 잘하고 있어. 이제 나한텐 모든 걸 감당할 능력이 있다고 말했잖아.
You've already done enough. I told you, I'm fully capable of handling everything. But Artem lightly shakes. I think he's got an alternative plan to end things with the emblem, but I think it's not a good idea. You might not have a choice though.
가야 할 길은 전부 다 정해져 있다네.
The road that we must walk has already been set.
너도 나도 그걸 거부할 수 없어.
Whether it's you or me,
반드시 그 사명을 완수해야만 하지.
there's nothing to fear. There are things that we must.
그 과정에서 비난을 받는 것쯤은 별것도 아니야.
The criticisms on this path.
그리고 난 네 사명이 여기에 있지 않다는 걸 항상 느껴왔어.
And I've always felt that your mission is. Oh no, it's the line from the trailer. Saying it all. Mission. But who exactly gave us our mission? Divinities? As it's Artem she's talking. subconsciously expresses her thoughts boldly. Perhaps those who study incantations all hold this view to some extent. So-called divinities and gods are merely superior beings. They are powerful, yes, but not completely aloof and above common.
그 답을 알고 싶다면 계속 협력을 해주게나. 일단 카오스의 밤부터 무사히 보내야겠네.
You want to know the answer to that? Then just continue. You must get through the night.
그럼 천천히 알게 될 거야.
Then you'll gradually start to understand. Get through the level first. Pondering Artem's words, she realizes that as he looks back at her, he also glances far into the depths of the increasingly distant. There's nothing there, or perhaps that is only. Oh. After that night, she works with Artem over festival affairs as he hopes, until the night of chaos finally arrives. Unsure if incidents like the opera will occur, he even drafts multiple contingencies. However, unexpected as it seems, the days leading up to the festival are quite. In the words of the other aides, it's as if the city has been blessed by chaos themselves. At the peak of the festival, the castle becomes the quietest place. Most aides have gone to the city or are on holiday. Only she remains in piling the scattered documents and fuel into. Looks like it's just about done. While stationed at the castle leading up to the festival, she accompanies Artem in government affairs by day, and sequesters herself in the study to research the emblem by night. The current results align with her previous rewriting the incantation emblem. I wonder if Artem will agree to let me. As that thought crosses, a muffled boom of exploding fireworks reverberates from outside the castle. The indigo glass windows are instantly splashed with being illusion. In the window's reflection, she can see Artem sitting still sitting silently on the ground. Even through a layer of shadow, she can tell he's been watching her like this for a long time. You want to go out and take a look together, Artem? It's a rare occasion. Staying here watching from afar feels like we're missing out on something. Date! Festival date!
너무 시끄러운 곳은 적응이 안 되더군.
I'm not used to such noisy place. Despite his words, Artem gazes in the direction of the fireworks. He lightly crosses the throne's armrest for a moment, seemingly pondering something. Finally speaks again.
그 말이 맞네.
But you're right.
이렇게 멋진 날 평소처럼 안에만 있는 건 너무 아깝지.
It would be a shame to spend such a nice festival here as usual.
성 안에도 기분 전환을 할 수 있는 곳이 있는데.
I also know of a place within the city that we can go.
같이 가볼 테냐?
Like to go. Oh! I shall accept your gracious invitation. With no one else around, she drops her usual respectful way of addressing him and gives him a playful, imperfect curtsy. They're so cute. The curtsy seems to evoke a curious illusion of them, as though in the next second, they'll begin dancing. But they both know this is no court place, and she'll never be a traditional noblewoman dancing with them. Artem slightly averts his gaze, as though reluctant to let her see the current Archon stifling a laugh after.
좋아. 그럼 잠깐 기다리게나.
Wait for me. But after Artem leaves the throne room, she waits a long while without seeing him return. Growing increasingly puzzled, she's about to check the corridor outside the throne room when sound of wind. Oh! Are we about to ride on a dragon or something? Oh my god. Are we about to ride on Artem? A fierce gust abruptly whips up the hem of her coat. She brushes aside her tousled hair and looks behind her. There on the terrace outside the other side of the throne room, an enormous creature is slowly descending. Oh my god! Show us the dragon form! Don't give me this shadow! Yes! We're about to ride Artem. Oh my gosh! Artem! She hurries over, tightly gripping the railing of the terrace. The dragon, quietly observing her now, is nearly indistinguishable from the knight. No words are needed. She understands what the invitation really is. So with one last glance back at the throne room to confirm no one sees her vaulting over the railing barehanded, she agilely leaps onto the dragon's back. Oh my gosh! Oh, I'm glad I'm recording this for Beck. Soaring through the boundless night, she feels her hair constantly tossed by the wind, the scenery below gradually growing larger. Only when the dragon touches down steadily does she realize she's been brought to a small island in a lake far from the city center. Does he, like, when he shifts back to human form, does he have clothes? Another strong gust sweeps Artem, having shifted back to human, rides over.
사람들을 놀라게
오케이.
하지 않고
Inclusive.
괜한 오해를 피하기 위해 휴식이 필요할 땐 혼자 여기에 오곤 한다네.
So, when I want to avoid public panic and other troubles, I often come here alone to unwind.
저쪽으로 조금만 더 가면 쉴 수 있는 곳이 있지.
If we walk a bit further that way, there will be a place to rest. She strolls along the edge of the island for a while. Oh, sorry. They stroll along the edge of the island for a while and soon find a rock big enough for two to side by side. The rock is slightly sandy, so to avoid sliding down, she must sit as close to the person beside her as Sorry, let me scoot over a little.
더 가까이 와도 상관없네.
It's alright even if you come a bit closer. Oh! As Artem says this to her, his eyes are fixed on a more distant spot. He gazes not at the sky above the royal capital illuminated by fireworks, but out at the darker lake. Artem, is that? Following his line of sight, she's surprised to see an ornately decorated small boat slowly sail. Listening closely, she can even hear the people on the boat singing a folk song.
다 내 동족들이라네.
They're all my kin. Dragon shifters? Artem has never mentioned his people to her before. Not to mention the dwindling numbers and the elusiveness of dragon shifters. Only Artem is still involved in politics. He can't help but observe the departing boat with heightened curiosity, imagining where its passengers are. Are they traveling by boat? Late hour?
그렇다고도 할 수 있지.
It could be seen that way.
정확히 말하자면 한 번 떠나면 다시는 돌아올 수 없는 여행을 가는 거네.
But to be more precise, they've embarked on a journey from which they won't return. I don't like this death foreshadowing. All these death flags, man.
지난 몇 년 동안 이런 식으로 여길 떠났기 때문에 인간들한테는 점점 수가 줄어드는 것처럼 보이는 거야.
In recent years, most of my kin has departed like this. That's why people seem to think that there's an impression of a shrinking population. They won't return. She's only discussing other people, but feels a part of her heart wrenched forcefully. When Artem's gaze returned, his eyes remained gentle as the twinkling stars above.
오랜 세월 동안 우리 화룡족은 많은 은총을 받아 일찍이 뛰어난 힘과 지혜를 가졌다네.
My people have long enjoyed various blessings, such as acquiring advanced power.
하지만 언제까지나 우위를 점할 수는 없어.
This
예를 들면
advantage can't last forever.
지금 눈앞에 보이는 불꽃이 용이 아닌 인간이 만들어낸 것이든 말이야.
For example, the fireworks before us now weren't made by dragons. They were invented by humans.
언젠가 분명 인간의 시대가 올 거라고 믿는다네.
I believe the day will come when a human era will appear. What about then, Artem?
주문, 법, 이 대륙을 다스리는 방법. 용으로서 우리가 가르칠 수 있는 건 이미 전부 다 가르쳐 줬어.
Incantations, laws, how to govern this continent. We dragon shifters have already taught you everything that we can.
그러니까 신이 우리한테 부여한 사명을 완수하고 더 오랫동안 머물 수 있는 곳으로 떠나야 하는데 그곳이 바로 이 대륙의 극서 지방이네.
So after fulfilling the mission bestowed upon us by the divinities, we'll go to a more suitable place. That place is far west of this.
거긴 권력의 중심과 멀리 떨어져 있어. 전쟁이나 슬픔, 죽음 같은 것들이 닿지 못하거든.
It's removed from the center of power. War and sadness and death cannot touch it.
그래서 어떤 주문이나 휘장도 우리에게 영향을 주지 못하지.
Thus, incantations and emblems will no longer hold sway over us. Artem doesn't explicitly state his plans on in the future, but she already has a vague idea. It's not a good sign. She almost imagines him standing on the deck when she looks at the boat on the lake. He hands over ruling authority to his maids and sails away like his kin, then each festival from now on will no longer be like how it is today. But is leaving really necessary for Artem?
혹시 극서 지방에 관심이 있느냐? 그렇다면 내가 더 많은 이야기들을 들려줄 수 있다네.
You're more interested in that place in the world. I can tell you more stories about it. Other than interested, gazing at Artem, she shakes her head as if to clear her thoughts. A bizarre feeling in her heart lingers. Artem has never said he wants to leave before. Is this really something he... And if this is how he truly for others? She's remained by his side all this time, but it wasn't just to ultimately part ways with him one day. I've made a breakthrough in my emblem research, Artem. Haven't you said so yourself? As long as I'm here, we'll definitely be able to handle all the unexpected situations caused by the emblem. Oh, Rosa's so desperate for him to stay. My heart hurts. Through Artem's eyes, she can almost see her own somewhat anxious expression. Although the research hasn't been fully verified, now may be the best chance to share her findings with him. And to go a step further, convince him here to let her attempt to modify the incantation. Just give me a chance to rewrite the incantations attached to the emblem.
잠깐.
Artem suddenly shakes his head at her and glances towards the castle and cabin. Uh-oh.
들어보거라.
Listen. They still settling off fire. Abruptly, an explosive boom reverberates from afar. A light far brighter than fireworks illuminates the entire sky, mixed with indiscernible smoke. An explosion? She leaps to her feet. Artem still stares at the surface light, his expression dark and inscrutable.
아니, 단순한 폭발이 아닌 것 같네.
Perhaps not just an...
다른 소리도 들리는 걸 보니.
I hear something else. As the emblem's bearer, his perception is undoubtedly better than hers. Eerie contrast between the strange sight and the overly peaceful state of the city in recent days sets off an alarm bells in her head. Before she can question further, shoots her a look, signaling her to leave with why? Back at the throne room. They've barely landed back in the throne room, or she's barely landed back in the throne room with Artem when a loud cry echoes from the streets below. Have the tyrant come out. Tyrant? The citizens' angry voices mingle with the sounds of them scuffling with the night. Judging from the people's attire, it seems a festive procession heading nearby the castle. Suddenly it changed their celebratory chants when they arrived. Weren't all those days of silence for this very moment? That sage was right. We can't stay silent anymore. The sage? Who are they referring to? Nyx? It is unlikely to be heard if they shout to, or she shouts to the people from a place as high as here, let alone ask what the goal of that young leader is. Mighty dragon shifters? Haven't you always fought amongst yourselves for power? If dragons can rule here, why can't we humans? Aren't the people who serve so-called Archon all wise and capable? Time to give up the throne to someone more enlightened. Oh my! Oh no, that's already his plan, you idiot! But the aides only gained their vast knowledge thanks to Artem's teaching over the years. Well, that's a side of history the masses never see. All they witness are the clashes between generations of Archon. I can't just stand by and do nothing like before. I have to clear things up. Artem, I'm gonna find the other aides.
어딜 가느냐?
Where are you going? She finds herself standing alone and unsure in the center of the throne room. Artem enters from a side door. The flickering lamps cast dark shadows across.
저 사람들 말이 맞네. 인간 보좌관으로서 이곳을 통치할 수 있는 충분한 학식을 네가 가지고 있지 않나?
What they say is right. As a human aid, don't you possess the knowledge to govern this? Oh my god, oh no. I don't like where this is going. Hi, Ether. I don't like where this is going. How are you? We're at like I think the climax of the story. Something.
방금 회장의 주문을 바꾸고 싶다고 했지?
You just said
휘장을 조금 더 안전하게 넘기는 방법을 생각한 것 같은데.
that you wanted to rewrite the incantation of the emblem, didn't you? If I'm not mistaken, you hope to create a safer method of succession?
생사의 윤회를 거치지 않고 평범한 관원 선거처럼 휘장을 대대로 계승하는 방법을 말이야.
One that doesn't involve the cycle of life and death, but passes the emblem through generation. That is to say, a normal election for official. Yes, that's right, but how did you... Artem doesn't answer right away, that he observes her face.
그냥 추측한 것뿐이라네.
Just some guesswork.
휘장을 가진 자는 무한한 지혜를 갖게 되는데
It was just a
이
guess.
정도 가설을 세우는 건 어렵지 않지.
The emblem bestows upon its bearer boundless wisdom. It's not that hard to make a few deductions.
그렇다면 지금 한번 시도해보는 건 어떻느냐?
So why not give it a try now? I don't like it either, and holy, what is my timing? I was gonna say what I was about to say after this. Okay. You mean you're willing to let me attempt to rewrite the incantation of the emblem? But before, you said you could handle it alone. Yes, hi, Mizu. Not knight. He's a king. He's an archon. And, you missed the intimidation scene earlier. That was really nice. Basically, Artem held us down with his power. But now we're at, like, I think the climactic scene. And oh my god, I'm afraid to keep going. I don't like where this is going. Artem cuts her off with a pointed look towards the window, urging her to take in the view of the city. The conflict rages on outside. If people were driven to such unrest by a mere opera before, the current situation will only lead to more dire consequences. Yes, Rosa did also ride Artem. In other words, time is running out for her to act. I understand. At present, there is only one way to quell the people's anger while freeing Artem from his physical torment. Yes, he turned into a dragon basically and let her ride on his back, but still. But also, oh my god, he's so cool. He's so hot in this. Like, he gets to be a king. They clearly play favorites. At present, there is only one way to quell the people's anger while freeing Artem from physical torment, and that is to transfer his emblem out of the public eye to another aid. Her. Although she's conducted countless studies on this very thing, her throat still goes dry when she actually placed her hand on Artem's skin, preparing to chant.
긴장하지 말게.
Don't be nervous.
너무 걱정되면 내 눈을 바라봐.
If you're really worried, just look into my... Oh my god. Okay, I'll begin then. Artem takes a few steps back and sits on the throne while she stands before him, leaning in close. The aura emanating from him feels at odds with the tense atmosphere outside the castle. It evokes countless memories. The scented dust from when she first met him, tranquil restricted archives years later, the island in the middle of the lake under a starry sky just... Inhaling deeply, she focuses her attention on his exposed neck and places her hand over it. You're not really Artem, are you? Wait, what? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? The moment her words fade, a burst of fireworks explodes in the night sky. The dazzling colors brightly illuminate Artem's faintly smiling face, casting an eerie and undeniably unfamiliar air. Oh, is this the shade that she saw in the restricted area?
수석 보좌관, 왜 그렇게 생각하지?
Why do you think such a thing, Chief Aide? All with the intuition of a sorcery researcher, don't you feel there have been too many strange occurrences in and around the castle lately? The Artem I know was used to shielding others. He wouldn't let them throw themselves into danger alongside him. Now you're allowing me to do something as risky as rewriting the incantation. No, you're not just allowing me, you're even encouraging me to do this. And it isn't the first time something like this has happened.
이상한 일? 생각이 너무 많은 건 아니고?
Strange things? Aren't you overthinking? She comes to the near instantaneous conclusion that the real Artem would never converse with her like this. Yet the aura emanating from the man before her undoubtedly belongs to Artem. It gives rise to an ominous foreboding within. What's happening? Unless she fully exposes this person who has taken over Artem's body and now speaks to her, the farce tonight will not end. When I first saw the Archon show signs of illness at the Inquisition, an aide immediately came to ask me how to handle it. Soon after, an aide lent me the key to the library's restricted section, made sure I began researching, and even conjured an illusion so I'd run into the real Artem. It's as though someone planted the idea to find a way to transfer ownership of the emblem in my mind. Then he reinforced my determination, step by step. The only issue, well, that makes sense because Nyx has been missing. The only issue that is that research often requires a great deal of time. In that case, a riot has been instigated to force my hand.
그래서 네가 내린 결론이 결국 무엇이냐?
So what conclusion have you? Artem interjects softly. He turns to gaze out at the clamoring crowd once more, seemingly unbothered by the threat she posed.
서두르지 않으면 분노한 백성들이 곧 성으로 들이닥칠 것이다.
If we don't hurry, the angry masses may storm the castle. Oh my god. Yeah, he's been smiling in a weird way this entire time. Artem is much more serious, right? Oh my god. I thought it was strange that he suddenly wanted her to try the spell when earlier he was telling her not to. I thought it was just, you know, the crowd forcing his hand, but yeah, she's right. Rosa is so sharp. I love her. She's such a great MC. She's so smart. Smarter than me. Remember the ancient texts? Whether human or dragon, they may be blinded by desire or even bewitched, drawn into bloody battles for the emblem. It seems that on this night, 100 years later, I've become the protagonist in this latest cycle. The one who has guided my actions openly and from the shadows. He's likely waiting for me to seize the emblem and become the next Archon, isn't he? Ah. Oh. I thought it was just the one who bears the emblem who went a little crazy. But it's Rosa! She's the one who's going crazy this time. The emblem is trying to convince her to become the next Archon, even if it means hurting Artem with this plan of hers. But she's caught on.
이미 말했지 않느냐?
I've already
그건
told you.
전부 너의.
This is just your... The real Artem once warned me, beings capable of shape-shifting and skilled at bewitching hearts might be lurking in the castle. In that case, was the aide who spoke to me that night in the restricted section truly himself? And the sage who riled up the people tonight to overthrow the tyrant, is he really human? For a moment, she thinks the man before her will become enraged, so she tenses up and is readies a spell to attack. But instead, he closes his eyes, as though savoring the dissonant noises from outside the castle as if they are a grand opera.
내가 정말 널 미혹시켰느냐?
Did I truly bewitch you? Oh my god! Don't say it like that, stupid shadow. Stupid shadow of Artem. Oh my god.
난 너와 백은후의 소원을 실제로 일어나게 만들어서 서로 차마 꺼내지 못했던 말을 하게 도와준 것뿐이라네.
Both of you stop! Jesus! I really gave form to Artem's... Okay, actually...
난 너와 백은후의 소원을 실제로 일어나게 만들어서
I just made your
서로
wishes
차마
come
꺼내지
true.
못했던 말을 하게 도와준 것뿐이라네.
I only helped you voice the things that you could never speak out loud. This is reminding me of the magical boy BL. Okay, oh my god! Don't say it like that! Makes my heart go dugun. Don't change the subject, you know? Rose is getting flustered.
아직도 모르겠어?
You haven't realized?
내가 백은후의 의식을 빼앗고 너와 대화 나누기 전부터 넌 이미 욕망에 지배당하고 있었다고.
You were already ruled by desire, even before I took over Artem's consciousness and spoke with you.
남의 걱정을 덜어주고 싶은 욕망. 백은우와 오랫동안 함께하고 싶은 욕망.
The desire to shoulder his burdens, the desire to remain by his side.
그리고 내가 제일 좋아하는 게 바로 욕망을 품은 아이거든. 단순하기 그지없고 욕망의 모든 걸 걸어버리지.
The thing I'm most fond of are children with such strong desires, so pure yet so reckless. I'm so confused! I thought we were doing an Artem card, but they've introduced a new MC. This emblem, this spirit of the emblem or whatever it is like... Alright. I guess that's how they decided to make Artem spicier. He just gave his body over to someone else. Alright. She gasps as an unseen force slams her to the marble floor. She barely manages to prop herself up as Artem slowly advances. Or more accurately, the unspeakable, unseeable being that has seized control of Artem's body and now addresses her directly. Guys, I can't deal with this right now. Artem doing un-Artem-like things to Rosa. Kinda hot. You guys. This is too much for me to handle right now. Too early in the morning for this. When did this start? When he briefly left the throne room and returned to invite her to the island, or was it after?
백은후의 짐을 그렇게 털어주고 싶다면서 왜 끝까지 하지 않은 거지? 네가 대신 휘장을 가져가면 되지 않느냐?
If you're so determined to lighten his load, then why not see it through to the end? You could inherit the emblem in Artem's place instead.
백은후의 상태가 나날이 악화되고 있어.
His health worsens
그리고
by the
넌
day.
분명 내가 내려주는 축복을 훨씬 더 잘 이용할 수 있을 거고.
And you would surely wield the blessings that I bestow better than he could. Blessings. Then you're... It's chaos. Her eyes widen suddenly, and a suspicion that formed when she first confronted the man, but remained unconfirmed, now eclipses all other thoughts. A being powerful enough to easily control Artem, with motive to actively sow turmoil in pursuit of a new emblem bearer. Only one possibility remains. It's chaos. Wow. But before she can voice the answer, Artem suddenly lets out a short, pained gasp, as though he is fighting to suppress a constantly surging agony, as if he's desperately pushing back against an invisible force. Oh! Is our Artem trying to fight his way back out? Man, guys, this is... Wow! I wasn't expecting this plotline. But I like it. I like it a lot.
그녀에게서 떨어져.
Stay away from her.
건드리지 마.
Don't touch her. Artem, is that you? You...
멀리 떨어지라고 했지. 카오스.
I said stay away from her, Chaos. Oh my god. Guys! Ah! The fic ideas are like overflowing, you guys. So many fic ideas. So many fanfic ideas. Split personality. I'm okay, guys. I'm not at all okay. Okay, though only the two of them are here, a fierce gale tosses her back. It sends her sliding towards the balcony. In this final moment, the divinity who has yet to show his true form, the one Artem commanded to withdraw, unfurls a curtain of black mist and follows her whole. Disoriented and weightless, she drifts aimlessly in the sea of darkness, unable to discern any sense of direction. Artem, where are you?
넌 아무것도 몰라.
You don't understand any. A deep voice rumbles in response.
넌 아무것도 몰라. 내가 주는 휘장을 받아들이는 게 너와 백은후 그리고 이 세상을 위한 최선의 선택이야.
Accepting the emblem that I bestow for you, for Artem, and for the entire world is the best solution. You're chaos? Then why did you cause all this disorder? Wait. Rosa, did you just ask that? Rosa, did you just ask that? You're chaos. Why did you just cause all this disorder? His name is Chaos, Rosa. His name is Chaos. Please. All her education thus far has taught her that chaos is the divinity who bestows blessings and enables the Archon to maintain order in the world. And it is for this very reason that the people hold a festival tonight to express their gratitude.
혼란을 일으켰다고.
Cause disorder? Me?
오히려 그 반대겠지. 난
On the
무너지려는
contrary,
질서를 유지하고 있는 것뿐이라네.
what I've done is to protect the precarious balance on the verge of collapse.
이 세계를 움직이는 진리가 무엇인지 내게 보여주마.
I'll make you see the truth that this
그걸
world is
보고
built on.
나면 너도 내 편에 서게 될 거야.
And then you will also come over to my side. A howling wind assails her ears once more as she squints against the unending dust whipped into a frenzy. As far as the eye can see, only endless ruins sprawl out before her. In the distance, the castle too is shrouded in a layer of gloomy ash. This isn't the throne room. Where did chaos take me? In the wake of the Neil Hume incident, Artem had the area around the castle rebuilt. This place should be lush with greenery. She struggles to sit up. She instinctively wants to walk towards the castle, but at that moment, a piercing screech rends the sky. We heard that. Artem! The massive dragon tumbling through the clouds is undoubtedly Artem. But another dragon soon bursts from the cover of clouds and barrels towards Artem, a torrent of flames shooting out from its mouth. I want to see the dragon fight! 2 dragons? That's Neil Hume? The dragons are too far away. Even sprinting with all her might towards where they're fighting, she can only cover a meager distance like a crawling ant. Neil Hume is already gone. Why is he? This is a memory. Her mind reels, the scene before her achingly dreadfully familiar. Good music. This is the past she's experienced firsthand. Chaos conjured this illusion to make her relive the conflict that spawned all this suffering and turmoil. Only this time, she'll see even more clearly. She will see exactly how Artem obtained the emblem once again. Wait, has the emblem already started to transfer? The tortured roar, Neil Hume's draconic form begins to disobey him. His wings falter. An unnaturally bright radiance suffuses his body as the dragon beside him desperately tries to slow his plummet. Wow, these noises. Huh? Why is Artem? Artem is clearly also in the throes of some terrible agony. None of her emblem research to date has ever recorded a case like this. They're both going to fall. No time to hesitate. She fires off a spell at breakneck speed to cushion both Artem and Neil Hume's fall. The instant she finishes chanting, a severe, uncontrollable pressure assails her. It's as though an invisible current rampages through the area unchecked. She almost vomits from the overpowering nausea. A tangled incantation? The term flashes through her mind. This is an exceedingly rare case. It occurs only when multiple potent spells collide and produce unpredictable results. Oh, is that her and her past self? If the spell she cast did indeed fuse with the emblem incantation currently transferring between Neil Hume and Artem, not even Chaos himself can accurately foretell what will unfold next. Oh.
선생님, 이게 뭐죠?
Sure, what is this? Is that Artem speaking? Artem, where are you? She shouts and her shout vanishes, is devoured by a boundless expanse of searing white light. Neither Artem nor Neil Hume realizes she's there, or rather, they remain unaware that the tangle has forged a sensory link, which allows her to witness the emblem's succession in its entirety.
선생님,
Teacher,
어쩌다 이렇게 되신 겁니까?
how did things turn out this way? Oh. Beyond the reaches of her sight, the brand of the emblem may be searing itself into Artem's back at this very moment. He clearly didn't anticipate the process of obtaining a new power to be so excruciating. All the while, Neil Hume's life force rapidly waned.
미안하네. 내가 좀 더 일찍 진실을 알아내서 자네한테 알려줘야 했는데.
I failed to uncover the truth sooner and tell you.
휘장은 결코 신의 축복이 아니야. 이상주의자들에게 건네는 금단의 열매에 불과하지.
The emblem was never a divine blessing, but a forbidden fruit offered to all idealists. Oh, their weakness is their idealism. Forbidden fruit? He gasped, but they don't hear it. It is carried away by the ceaseless winds drifting between the two.
휘장을 받아들이면 자넨 무한한 힘과 지혜를 얻게 될 걸세.
You'll gain infinite power and wisdom, but
하지만 반대로 끝없는 혼돈과 저주도 감당해야 하지.
you must also bear endless chaos and curse.
그 누구보다 정확하고 멀리 볼 수 있기 때문에 이 세계를 감싸고 있는 어두운 면에 직시해야만 한다네.
Because you'll see everything more clearly and farther out than anyone else, you'll have no choice but to confront the dark side of this world.
카오스는 자네가 완전히 잠식당할 때까지 그 모습을 웃으며 지켜보기만 할
Oh
거야.
my god. And chaos will watch and laugh as you're slowly devoured.
모든 게 소진되고 나면 마음의 이상을 품은 또 다른 사람을 찾아가겠지.
Once you've been emptied out everything, he'll pick up the next set. Oh, this is so good! This premise is so good! So this is the true reason behind the conflicts that plague each generation of Archon. The divinity exploits people's yearnings for an ideal world and lures them in. And even now, he rose up the next offering of Artem.
그럼 선생님
휘장 같은 건 존재하면 안 됐어. 신과 나 사이의 관계를 완전히 끊어버리고 싶었지만 완전히 실패하고 말았지.
The emblem should never have existed. I was trying to sever my ties to you, but I failed.
미안하네. 아무래도 이게 이 세계의 진실인 것 같군.
It seems this is the truth of this world. Oh my. Guys? Can we make some comparisons to Genshin? This emblem. Gnosis or vision. Maybe Celestia is actually laughing at all of the conflict happening. Is it finished? No. Oh no, we just found out an awful truth of this world. And it's making me think about, because they keep saying the truth of this world. It really makes me think of Genshin. And other stories like it. So I'm kind of like, is this a hint? Is this a hint? Is Celestia actually laughing? Okay, there's a lot to unpack here.
우리가 지금껏 추구해온 절대적으로 이상적인 질서나 정의 같은 건 애초에 존재하지 않았던 거야.
The absolutely perfect order and justice we pursue, they've never. Yeah, it's just to feed this cycle. So the vision holders too, are they given these visions, but whoever's handing them out is just enjoying the chaos that is wreaked by having these people with all of these like special powers? Although the vision holders generally seem to be decent people, but right? Just waiting for every game mixing. Honestly, it's not, like it's called Hoyo Verse for a reason, right? And Themis has generally existed as one of the games that's quite distant from the rest, but I feel like this story, and I guess it's not surprising that it's the dragons like story, right? And considering how important dragons are to Genshin lore, that this one is one of the like stories that seems to be tying. Oh man, I want to talk about this. I might talk about this. I might do a video about this. Okay.
유일하게 존재하는 건 신이 개입하는 권력의 재분배뿐이지.
The only things that exist are the redistribution of power under divine influence.
그리고 이제 이 모든 걸 알게 된 자네가
And now that you know all this,
앞으로 무엇을 더 할 수 있겠는가?
what will you? Artem shouts something else to his mentor, but she can no longer hear. The endless white engulfs her completely. Wordlessly, it declares that what Chaos wished to show her has come. I think Artem has this entire time trying to end this cycle, but I think it will come at the cost of his own life. Oh God, Mavika foreshadowing. Mavika foreshadowing. I mean, I know this was actually done a year ago, but like in the Chinese server, but. As the blinding light slowly dissipates, she finds herself still sprawled raggedly on rubble and sand. Artem and Nilhum are nowhere to be seen. Grains of yellow and sand skitter towards her. She lifts her head to see a figure approach.
소감이 어떻느냐?
What do you think?
이제 내 의지를 거역할 수 없다는 걸 깨달았겠지. 너도 백은우가 석찬호한테 했던 것처럼.
You've opened your eyes to how my will bears down upon you, just like it did Artem.
백은우를 조금이라도 빨리 해방시켜줘야 하지 않겠어?
Didn't you free him in the way that he did for Nilhum?
안 그러면
You don't.
언젠간 백은우도 복주하고 말 테니까.
He too will eventually succumb to madness. Why choose me of all people as the
넌 타고난 재능이 있네.
of talent?
그리고 그보다 중요한 건 네가 백은우와 많이 닮았다는 점이야.
But more important, you are incredibly similar to Artem.
너희 둘은 자신보다 타인을 더 걱정하지. 심지어 더 나은 미래를 위해 스스로의 안위를 희생하기까지 하고 말이야.
You both care more about others than yourselves. You're even willing to sacrifice yourself for a better future.
지금까진 네가 마음에 들어.
I like
그러니
you.
걱정하지 마라.
So don't be
네가
too
휘장의
worried.
영향을 감당하지 못하면 다른 계승자를 찾아줄 테니까.
You can no longer bear the effects of the emblem. I'll find you a
늦기 전에 휘장을 옮긴다면 또 모르지. 생명 하나를 살릴 수 있을지도.
If you relinquish the emblem time, then who knows, you might even survive. That's a load of nonsense. You're just looking for a mortal vessel to bear your emblem, to control this land through its ruler. Sand turns more violently at her feet as Chaos's laughter echoes from somewhere beyond her sight. Does he think that she's overestimating herself, or does he truly view all creation as merely play? Or fury no more than trifling entertainment?
그렇게 정없이 말할 필요는 없는데. 네가 원하지 않는다면 나도 강요할 생각은 없네.
Themis might be the story of 500 years ago for the age of dragons and the time of Kanish's partner. Maybe.
그럼 네가 죽든 살든 이곳에 내버려 두는 것도 기쁘게
And
받아들여야겠지만
I suppose you wouldn't be opposed to being abandoned.
잊지 마라.
Don't forget. Though he fades with the retreating winds, Chaos partly taunts. A parting taunt lingers heavy with malicious glee.
여긴 네가 사는 현실이 아니라는 것을.
This place exists beyond or outside your reality,
네가 있어야 할 곳에서 백은우는
where you truly belong.
여전히 휘장이 주는 고통과 싸우고 있다.
Artem is still struggling with the emblem's influence.
다시 만나고 싶다면
You want to see him again.
어서 이 해귀한 곳에서 나가야 할 텐데.
You'd better find your way out of here. The gale snatches away his final mocking word. She's left trapped and alone, a prisoner of the emblem. I have to hurry. Any illusion can be shattered by exploiting its flaws. If the scene before her is indeed a mirage woven by chaos, then no matter how realistic, it must bear traces of his sorcerer's sin. Yet everywhere she looks, from the howling winds to the grit of sand against her skin, it all feels disturbingly uncannily real. This won't do. I need to get out now. Despite repeated failures, she staggers but trudges on. Is that Artem over there? Hearing his voice spurs her into a run, heedless of the rubble that threatens to strike her at every turn. At the edge of the whirling sand, Artem leans heavily against a crumbling wall, gasping for breath. Artem? Driven by pure instinct, he lunges towards him, only to stop short. Near peace. This illusion replays the past, and his fate should arrive at any moment. Away from here. Back when she was unaware of his identity, she had double-checked in an attempt to save him, only to unexpectedly wind up captured and brought back to the castle. From that point on, their fates became... Now it seems Artem has no intention of leaving at all?
선생님, 휘장이 왜?
He seems lost in the echoes of Hume's, mumbling through gritted teeth, fights to endure the searing agony of it. It's as though he cannot bring himself to escape his memory, yet has no choice but to chaotic reality unfold. Whether or not he can recover his devastating blow, injuries are not tended to properly. But Artem has already inherited the emblem. Why isn't he treating himself? Where is the one meant to take away? Unless... Oh, it's time travel? She attempts to sort through the tangle of thoughts crowding her mind, all abruptly as her anxiety reaches... No, this isn't right. From the very beginning, chaos has been playing a game of semantics. This place exists outside your present reality. Reality's opposite can mean either an illusion or the past. That's why I couldn't find any flaws in the illusion, no matter how I tried. Because the divinity sent me directly into the past. With thoughts still reeling in her head, she finds herself murmuring the final answer. In a daze, she raises her head to stare ahead once more. And the Artem I see before me now is true self from the past. The sting of sand causing her skin gradually fades from her skin. As her future self endures his past self, words fail her at this moment. Oh my gosh, guys, this is Tenet. I'm so confused. If she rewrote the emblem's incantation right here and now, would she spare him the suffering it will inflict upon him years later? She shouldered the emblem's burden instead. He'll speak of leaving on that night by the lake. As for herself, can she bear the consequences of altering the future?
거기 누구냐?
At some point, she realizes her cheek. Artem struggles to drag himself closer to her. He seems to have mistaken her for the tutor who should. Artem. The instant he collapses from blood loss, she can no longer restrain her voice. He seems to have slipped into semi-consciousness. She takes one more step towards him. Everything that follows will unfold differently. She begins to emerge from her hiding place and makes her way towards him. Having made this choice, she readies herself to be discovered by others at any moment, like the aide who should be coming for Artem. Huh? The aide who Artem claimed would appear, who should exist in the past, is still not here. Why isn't anyone coming? Rosa, have you not figured out that it's you? She hasn't done anything thus far that would alter the future. The one time she attempted to Artem and fell with a spell, it didn't even work. So who exactly reached out to help him?
가야 할 길은 전부 다 정해져 있다네. 너도 나도 그걸 거부할 수 없어. 반드시 그 사명을 완수해야만 하지. 그 과정에서 비난을 받는 것쯤은 별것도 아니야. 그리고 난 네 사명이 여기에 있지 않다는 걸 항상 느껴왔어.
Mission, but who exactly?
그 답을 알고 싶다면 계속 협력을 해주게나. 일단 카오스의 밤부터 무사히 보내야겠네. 그럼 천천히 알게 될 거야.
This is typical Artem. He'd hint at the path they take with comforting words, all while quietly watching over, almost as though he's put himself a long time. Yep.
됐네. 신문은 나중에 하지.
Later.
이곳에 끌려와 신문을 받는 게 네 결말이라 생각했겠지만 사실 모든 결말은 시작의 또 다른 형태이기도 하다네.
No one else ever came. Since Artem was indeed saved and the only one who could self, and Artem is no long guiding her, realize where her approaching fear won't change the past to her future, but rather conform precisely to her. Perhaps not even chaos anticipated. When faced with the ship of fate, even these choices amount to no more than on its hull. After all, we're all traveling an unknown path. Reunite at the starting point or the end.
넌
Oh my god. Is she not gonna save him? Is she gonna let him die? This is a beautiful picture though. Jesus, I can't handle this, guys. I'm out. I'm done. I can't do this. So much angst. No one's speaking. He crouches down beside Artem, shielding him from the dust whipped into a frenzy by the raging light. He lets out a small cough and glances down at his chest. A faint, golden glow emanates from within, feeling angry. As the pain gradually subsides from his body, he steadies her with. This is his first time meeting her. This is so beautifully drawn. I love this game. This is why I play this game.
분명 처음 보는 얼굴인데 왜 이렇게 낯익은 것 같지?
This is the face I'm seeing for the first time, but why does it feel so familiar? Artem seems as though he's about to inquire after her, but makes his head slightly up.
이런 말은 어색하기도 하고 오해를 만들기도 쉽겠지.
Words like that would be awkward and might leave the wrong impression.
미안하네. 나도 내가 무슨 말을 하는지 모르겠어.
I also don't know where
방금 너무 많은 일이 일어나서.
a lot is happening. Oh, he's so out of it. He's so dazed. It's actually really adorable. I don't think this is steamy. He's just very confused. Compared to the Artem of the present, he indeed already knows the secret of his emblem. Precisely because she's clearly seen all that awaits him. A profound sense of pity wells up inside her as she meets his eyes. They are still ignorant of the burdens.
안다고? 그걸 어떻게?
How could you know about that? I can't fully confide in you just yet, but there are at least a few things I want to tell you now. Your ideals have never been shattered, Artem. I love how she's comforting him. I love how she's able to support him in this moment when he's like the weakest. Oh. I love their relationship, man, just in general, how they're both like truly partners. You can see her own reflection in Artem's eyes. Like him, she's covered in dust, hair thoroughly tousled by the fierce wind. Even if he's surrounded by endless ash in the days to come, still hopes his eyes remain as clear as they are in this moment. So she pours out the words she's been longing to say ever since witnessing. Carefully enunciates each syllable for him. You've never strayed from the right, so no matter what you hear from others, never doubt yourself. At the end of your future, you will see me there waiting for you. Just hold on a little longer. A little longer. He catches the sound of hurried footsteps barely audible beneath the howling wind. Someone rushes through. Artem clearly notices it, turning to look in the direction.
저건
She's well aware of who's approaching. She smiles at Artem with a soft sigh. It's her past self. He's finally here. The you from the past, heedless of the danger, came back simply because someone was trapped here. Just as Chaos's early assessment, she was so pure and so recklessly throwing herself into the... Find me again very soon.
그럼 그 후에 우린 어떻게 되지?
After that, what will become of us? Consider my next words, my promise. Prophecy. You are the scales of justice and order. No matter what happens, I will not be shaken, and I will never leave. After she's finished speaking, Artem falls straight. As the new Archon bearing the emblem, he easily grasps such a simple implication. No need for
그 약속 꼭 지키게.
You must keep that promise. She senses the powerful flow of magic surging around her. Artem makes use of it for the first time since. Using this power bestowed by the divinity, he can help her break through the boundary between past and future and return to the time where she belongs. So that's what happened. The her from the past was knocked unconscious by the immense shockwave of this power. This is why everything that followed unfolded. Which explains Artem's look of realization upon seeing her in the throne room back then. It wasn't his first time meeting her.
끝없이 펼쳐질 미래에 내가 널 한눈에 알아보면 너도 날 기억해줬으면 좋겠구나.
In the infinite expanse of the future, when I recognize you at first sight, I hope that you'll... As his power envelops her, she begins to float upward. She glances back at him once. His eyes overflow with a soft starlit glow, as though he's been watching her like this for a long, long past.
끝이라고 불리는 시작점에서 나도 널 기다리고 있으마.
At the starting point that we call the end, I will be waiting there. And I'll be waiting for you. But there's still so much she wants to tell. Things she can't tell him, she couldn't tell him in the library on the island, and so much more. As she calls out his name, grips her wrist tightly, he also wishes a little while longer. Oh my god! Oh, it's so good! Oh, this is so good! This is why we play Themis. I really want to do the other dragon cards. I wonder what the other dragon cards are like. The instant she falls back into his embrace from midair, a dizzying sense of weightlessness. Many years later, on the night at the festival, he will race onto the balcony, leap over the railing, and gently land upon the back of Artem in his dragon form. Will he remember that night? She brushes aside his bangs now, soft kiss on his forehead. As she puts that thought into action, everything around her collapses like falling rain, dragging her down. Oh! Sensation of free fall pulls her ever downward until a dull pain jolts through her and she opens her eyes to find herself back in the throne. I made it back. What happened? The place where Archons and Aides once convened has been reduced to a scene of near total destruction. Yeah, it looks like a mess. Through a wall torn open, she gazes up at the sky, which is now tinged with the golden light of dawn. At the edge of that light, two dragons rise into the air, each seeking to rend the other asunder. If one of those dragons is Artem, then the other must be Chaos? Artem once hinted that Chaos can easily change its form. The only one with motive to engage Artem in a death match right now is the so-called divinity. But before she can unleash a spell to support Artem, the dragon manifestation of Chaos suddenly lets out a piercing shriek. The sound reverberates. That word is so hard to say. Reverberates in her ears, followed by a thunderous crash as someone plummets to the ground before her. Hold on, I'll help treat your wounds right away.
난 괜찮네.
I'm alright.
잠깐 숨을 돌릴 시간이 필요해.
I just need a moment to catch up.
근데 너야말로
But you... He's lying. The recent clash seems to have drained his strength. It caused him to lose his draconic form and fall. The wounds inflicted by Chaos are exceedingly strange. Her healing spells take effect far more slowly than usual. Yet Artem doesn't seem to know. He gently places his charged current, trembling.
다행이야. 네가 카오스에게 속지 않고 반드시 돌아올 거라고 믿고 있었어.
Goodness, I knew that you wouldn't fall for Chaos's and that you'd find a way back.
카오스가 널 과거로 보냈을 때
He sent you into the past.
어떻게든 카오스의 통제에서 벗어나 네가 돌아오기 전까지 붙잡아두려고 했거든.
I tried my best to break free from his control, stall until you returned.
금속 구역에서 뭔가 잘못됐음을 감지하고부터 우리가 곧 끝을 내야 한다는 걸 알고 있었지.
Ever since I sensed something strange in the restricted section, I knew I would have to face him. A reckoning? Artem, you can't possibly mean...
선생님이 이루지 못한 소원을 내가 완수해야 할 때야. 그게 운명이 나한테 부여한 사명이라네.
The wish my mentor failed to fulfill, I must now see it through to the end. This is definitely the fate that I've been entrusted with. He's referring to Neil Hume's desire to sever the Archon's ties with Chaos before he lost control, stop the divinity from ruling this land with invisible strength.
마지막으로 한 가지 부탁할 게 있네.
I have one final request. Oh, here it comes! No! You guys! I'm not ready. Oh, he's gonna die. Okay. You take a moment, though, to admire the beautiful artwork, since they put so much work into it, you know? Dang, Rosa looks gorgeous. I love her dress. And the hair pieces. How she's clinging to Artem. Dang, look at her nails and rings. Man. Rosa gets incredible treatment. Good music too. Okay, sorry. Distracted by Artem's abs now. I'm taking this all in very slowly. Oh, look at the scales! I want to touch them. Rosa, touch them! Let's end this. Before Artem can continue, she's already rushed over to embrace him. Even when completely bathed in the light of dawn, his hands gradually turn cold.
일단 내 말을 들어봐.
Listen to.
휘장의 상태가 좀 불안하더군.
The emblem is unstable.
카오스는 날 공격해서 선생님처럼 이성을 잃게 하려는 거야.
Chaos tried to make me lose control by
직접
attacking me.
나설 필요가 없으니까.
Then he wouldn't have to act directly.
넌 내가 본 주술사 중 가장 훌륭한 주술사니 변하지 않게 날 막아줬으면 좋겠네.
You're the most outstanding sorceress I've ever known. So, please don't let me become like.
적어도 네 앞에서는 말이야.
That is to say, at least not in front of you. The divine dragon circles high above, poised to dive at any moment, like a shadow perpetually. Gritting her teeth, she nods and holds Artem even tighter against herself. Ah! Leave it to me. The very reason I returned here is to fulfill our compact. You still remember, Artem? I once said this. You are the scales of justice and order. No matter what happens, you will not be shaken, and I shall never leave your side. She fully commits herself and recites the incantation countless times before. A sense of relief washes over her. As the capricious hand of fate steers her to this exact moment, never has she seen her mission such piercing clarity. Lurk and see if you can say it later. Okay. Sorry, Ether. Sorry, this is taking so long. As for the criticism or hardships encountered in the process of fulfilling that mission, they are no different from dust gathered by the wind. Thou art descended from the divinity, us to as swords and shield, as scales of law dwell upon my flesh. From this day forward, I command.
그게 아니잖아. 너
That's not it. You're.
지금 뭐 하는 거야?
What are you doing
당장
right now?
멈춰.
Stop it right now. Once started, an incantation cannot be forcibly paused midway. After what happened the previous night, she's come to understand that as long as she acts within by divinities, victory will forever elude. In that case, the only path forward is to break free of those rules entirely.
지금은 휘장 주문을 바꿀 때가 아니야. 실패하고 말 거라고. 카오스가.
Now isn't the time to rewrite the won't succeed. Chaos will. If we don't do something now, there never will be another chance. The complex incantation fixed to Artem's emblem is exceptionally difficult to modify without leading to path of destruction. She feels the power within her surging wildly, nearly out of control. She forces it. Gritting her teeth, she manages to chant one more line. Before she can finish, the draconic form of chaos in the sky lets out a thunderous roar, barely maintained.
뭐지? 지금 이 상황은
In this situation, we can't sever your connection to chaos ourselves, and we'll force him to sever the chaos or sever the connection himself. I haven't rewritten much of the emblem, but it's enough for my offensive magic to reach chaos directly through this link. If chaos values his own life, he'd best relinquish the. Oh, she's so smart, guys. She doesn't need an emblem. She's wise all on her own.
그만두라니까. 이건 신을 시해하는 돼지나 마찬가지야.
I told you to stop. This is deicide.
내가 겪었던 고통을 네가 배로 겪게 될 뿐이라고.
The agony I've experienced will be half of what you're taking on. Hi, Saimatsu.
널 기다리는 건 끝도 없는 혼돈뿐이고 차라리 죽는 게 낫다는 생각이 들 거야.
From this day forward, endless chaos awaits you. Even death will be a luxury beyond reach. And let us both bear the burden of it. Holy shit, Rosa gets to sacrifice herself for him? Oh my gosh, I kind of love it. Ah! Ah! She lowers her head, gently stopping Artem from killing her. Before the near berserk divinity, they exchanged secret vows, laughing as they discussed walking an unknown path together. I don't mind sharing similar burdens with you. After all, didn't we already make that promise? The end of your future. See me there waiting for you.
미래.
Artem seems to want to tell her something more. Now is hardly the time for heart-to-heart talk. He tilts his head up slightly, nuzzling her hair. As she glances up at the dragon writhing in apparent agony above, he finally speaks.
그럼 지금부터
Then close your eyes.
눈을 감고 슬슬 세어봐.
Then from now, close your eyes and count to 3.
그리고 3초가 지나면
After those 3 seconds,
테라스 쪽으로 달려가게.
run towards the balcony.
내가 널 알겠지?
I'll catch you. Understand? Yeah, I'm ready. No human has truly witnessed the moment a dragon shifter reveals their true form. Some scholars claim they only saw a blinding flash, followed by a dragon's roar they would remember for a lifetime. As she charges towards the utterly shattered balcony railing, she's greeted by nothing but the golden radiance of dawn flooding her vision. Yet she feels no fear. Leaping into the air, The wind caresses her face like a lover awaiting her kiss. Oh, alright. Then everything in her sight begins to plummet at breakneck speed until at the last instant a dragon soars upwards holding her on his back. That's so cool. I wish that we were able to see that kind of scene. As the two dragons hurtle towards each other once more, the residents of the city crane their necks in unison. The Archon they firmly regarded as a tyrant now drags the other dragon towards the uninhabited outskirts. The people who were poised to storm the castle the previous night gaze at the receding fiery glow as waking from a child tugs at a woman's sleeve.
엄마, 유성이에요.
A star.
소원 빌어도 돼요?
Or a shooting star. Can I make a wish? Silence falls. They simply watch, silent, until the two dragons vanish completely into the dazzling light of dawn. Many years later, the sacred altar, once accessible only to the dragon shifter archons and their aides, has long fallen into become a part of the suburban ruin. In the words of the current archon, this is now an era belonging completely. Naturally, there is no need to rely on the power of other races or divinities. On a rare day of rest, children from nearby villages play hide and seek among massive stones half buried in the lush grass. The child running the fastest suddenly halts. He looks up at the adults he nearly collided with. The man seems utterly unbothered. He bends down to pick up the tuft of grass the boy dropped and hands it back to the child. Oh, they didn't
자,
know?
네 것이 맞느냐?
Yours?
감사합니다, 삼촌.
Thank you,
아니,
uncle.
형.
I mean, big bro. The man's attire is far too peculiar for a villager. Perhaps that's why the boy glances back after running towards his friends.
근데 형, 시내에서 우리 마을로 놀러 온 거예요?
Did you come from the city to play here?
정확히 말하자면 여기에서 다른 곳으로 여행을 가는 거지.
To be precise, I'm leaving from here to travel somewhere else. The child furrows his brow somewhat confused. After all, the man before him carries no luggage whatsoever.
여행이요?
Trip?
그래. 아주 소중한 사람과 아주 많은 일을 겪어서 이제 더 먼 곳으로 모험을 떠날 생각이야.
Yes, I've been through a lot with someone very precious to me. Now we plan to explore somewhere farther away.
너희도 언젠가 어른이 되고 나이를 먹으면 그곳으로 가게 될지도 모르지.
Perhaps one day in the future, when you've become an adult and aged, you too will journey there.
거기가 어딘데요?
But where is that place? The man doesn't seem to hear him for a moment. Instead, he walks down the grassy slope. Children chase after him a few steps, only to spot a small boat docked in the river channel below the altar. On the tiny deck, a woman welcomes the man aboard with open arms, an intimate gesture.
웬 배가 있지?
Why is there a boat there? No boats have ever docked here before, let alone one so exquisitely decorated. The children rub their eyes in disbelief. When they open them again, the river still gently lapped at the shore, but the boat and the people on board have vanished. Only a gentle breeze glides over the field, no longer known as a sacred altar, as if someone had truly been there. After their brief stay, the man and the woman set sail westward like a lost legend. Ah! That was so good. That was unbelievably good. I can't. After story.
항해를 시작한 지도 꽤 됐으니 오늘 밤은 이 마을에서 좀 쉬자꾸나.
Oh my god. We've been sailing for a while now. Let's take a night's rest in this town. Artem, our journey together has gone on for a long time. After we set sail tomorrow, will we reach our destination at the edge of the continent?
그렇네. 나침반이 말해주고 있거든.
According to the compass.
서쪽 하늘 끝 파도 너머에 영원의 땅이 있다라고 말이야.
It says, proceed west beyond the sky's flowing waters and you will find the Israel.
화령족은 그곳을 베르노라고 부른다네.
Dragon King call
영원히
it
푸른
Bruno,
집이라는 뜻이지.
the home of everlasting greenery. Everlasting greenery?
나도 처음 가보는 거라
My-
소문을 들었을 뿐이야.
It's my first time, so I only know what I've heard.
그곳은 항상 여름이고 부상도 전부 치유해줄 수 있다더군.
It's perpetually summer there, and it can heal any wounds or illnesses. Then the injuries from your battle with chaos could be healed there too.
맞아.
That's right.
근데 그것보다 중요한 건
But more importantly than that,
너와 함께 새 인생을 시작할 보물 같은 기회가 왔다는 거지.
It seems that my opportunity to start over a new life with you has come.
이제부터 난 집장관이 아니고 너도 보좌관이 아니야.
And from now on, I'm not an Archon and you're not the chief
그러니까
aide.
이제 앞으로 서로를 대할 때도
So it might be time to take our relationship.
그러니까 예전 재판장에서처럼
Don't chicken out.
딱딱하게 굴거나 어려워할 필요도 없네.
So we don't need to be as stiff as we were before. Oh my gosh, you guys, please. The slowest slow burn couple. I know, haven't we been doing that on our journey together all along? You still remember that night when we sailed to Lake Rumos? When I was on the ship reading, you gently shook my shoulder and said you had a surprise for me.
예전 축제에서 불꽃을 못 본 게 아쉬워서 호수에 불꽃과 비슷한 빛을 만들어주고 싶었던 거라네.
Oh. It was a shame that we couldn't see the fireworks from before. So I wanted to create a similar spectacle at the lake for you.
그 뒤로 별이 가득한 호수에서 이야기를 나누다가 넌 밤바람을 맞으며 내 어깨에 기대 잠이 들었지.
After talking that night under the starlit lake, you fell asleep on my shoulder, lulled by the night breeze. I believe that once we arrive at our destination, there'll be even more moments like that night to share.
얘기를 하다 보니 문득 이런 말이 떠오르는군. 모든 일의 끝은 다른 일의 새로운 시작이다.
After you said something like that, I suddenly remembered a phrase. It goes like this: every end marks the beginning of something.
모든 게 끝났다고 느낄 때마다 늘 날 격려해주고 앞으로 나아가게 도와줬어.
You gave me hope at what seemed like the end for
미래의
me.
너와 다시 만날 때까지.
I can meet again with you in the future.
지금 내게 무궁무진한 미래를 약속하겠네.
Now it's my turn to promise you an endless. It's a promise then. May the end of this journey be merely a moment in our eternal story together. Artem, I saw a child on the street looking curiously at the gemstone on your chest while I was walking towards you earlier.
위장 주문을 써서 다른 사람들 눈에는 소박한 옷차림으로 보일 텐데.
I used a camouflaging spell, so our outfits should look everyone else's. Don't worry, we haven't been exposed. I'm just quite curious about that gemstone myself, so...
늘 이 보석을 달고 다니니 궁금해하는 것도 당연하지.
I've always worn this gemstone, so of course you'd be
사실
curious.
이건 너와 관련된 거야.
Hey, this is related to you.
이 보석엔 주문이 걸려 있어서 착용하면 기억의 일부를 저장할 수 있다네. 그래서 요 몇 년간에 우리의 추억 일부를 넣어뒀어.
It's enchanted to store parts of Aware's memories, so I've been placing some of our memories.
이러면 시간이 흘러 세월의 종착역에 다다랐을 때도 이 보석을 문지르기만 하면 그때의 추억을 생생하게 되살릴 수 있을 테야.
So no matter how many years pass, till the end of time, when I touch this gemstone, I will be able to relive those moments with you. Oh. Artem, the scar by your eyes looks lighter now.
정말 그렇구나.
Really seems so.
시간이 흐르면 좋은 것이든 나쁜 것이든 지난 것들은 모두 점점 옅어지는 법이지.
With the passage of time, bad things, good things, all things eventually start to fade. Yeah, and from here on, an endless future stretches before us. After the battle, Chaos vanished and Artem was left with some major wounds. Thus, she made arrangements with the other aides and left the capital for a long journey to... The destination is a land to the far west, a place of legends among Artem's people. Legends say that once they reach there, all suffering and death will be left at the door, leaving one with only a long and peaceful life to enjoy. Oh, okay, I'm glad they got a happy ending, but oh my god, that was stressful. Oh, I love a good self-sacrifice. Alright, we did Artem's Dragonbreath. I don't have energy to do another one right now, and I'm also hungry. But we'll do another one soon, because these stories are really good, I think.